Prince Paul, the fourth member of De La Soul. Prince Paul, truly my mentor. Prince Paul, truly my older brother. He's the dude that made it happen, you know. It definitely started with our relationship. I met Paul in the neighborhood in Amityville. Paul was the DJ and producer for Stetsasonic, a group that he was a part of that was out of Brooklyn, you know. Here it is, I had moved from Brooklyn to Long Island. So even moving from Brooklyn, I thought I got further away from my dream, especially when everything was coming out of the boroughs. But who would have thought I was getting closer to it, moving to Amityville. And Paul and I, we met over working on a demo of a guy he went to high school with, who was also a friend of my uncle's, that I also became friends with because he used to come by the house and see me into my music. So he asked me to participate with him in trying to make this record. And the record was not good. Just wasn't good. We were working, not just the artists. Honestly, the artist could actually rap, but it was the production and how it was coming together. We were truly working with my music teacher from the junior high. My music teacher, his name was Everett Collins, and he wrote songs for Surface and Isley Brothers. He co-wrote Happy, Closer Than Close, Smooth Sailing for the Isley Brothers, and he was music teacher at Amityville Junior High. He started a label. He named it after his daughters. He signed my man Eric. He signed Eric. But the music, they tried to do a cover of 7 Minutes of Funk, but it sounded really R&B-ish, like almost like borderline New Jack Swing-ish. Like Teddy was just coming up. Teddy Riley was just coming up, and producers was kind of adopting that sound. Everybody who was in the R&B lane. And it just wasn't a good record. Paul and I had a discussion over the record, sitting out in front of the studio. He was like, yo, how you feel about this record? I was like, yo, man, I really don't care for it. I said, but I'm here to figure out how to get my opportunity to get in the music business and actually produce some music. And he was just probing me. He was like, yo, so how you feel about your experience with all of this? And I guess he was more so trying to assess how much longer he was going to be involved with it, you know, when I think back on it. But I was like, yo, man, I'm really around here to learn, and they're not letting me learn anything. They barely let me touch anything. If it ain't the records and the turntables, I can't touch nothing else around here. I said, so, you know, my time is almost up here, you know? And pretty much me and Paul ended up clicking right there in that moment. Fast forward a couple days later, Paul came up to the school. He came up to Amityville High School, and I happened to be moving between periods. I maybe had like 2 periods left. And he came by the cafeteria, and he was like, yo, what you doing? I was like, nothing now. I seized the moment. I cut my last 2 classes and went and rode out with Paul. Paul started playing me the early recordings of In Full Gear, that album, before it dropped. And he was playing me a bunch of stuff, and I was like, yo, this is incredible, just a full ride of, yo, this is incredible. And then he started to play me things that didn't make the record. He was like, yo, let me play some other stuff, you know, he started playing me some stuff he was working on that didn't make the record, you know. I was like, yo, this is crazy. He's like, my group don't want to use it. I was like, yo, it was incredible stuff. I can't remember the titles of some of these songs, but he was like, yo, my group don't want to use it. He's like, I'm having some production issues with Daddy-O, you know. He's like, okay, you know, and we just talking, and somehow I'm in a moment with Paul, like, he just venting. And I'm like, yo, Paul, I want you to check out this stuff that I'm doing. Like, somehow I just got that real moment to be like, yo, I want you to check out this stuff that I'm doing. And he was like, yo, you keep saying that. Let's go to your house and get it now. So we go to the house and we get it. I played Unplugged Tuning. It was like 100 different ways we did plug tuning before the way you guys really know it. I played Potholes in My Lawn. I played Three's a Magic Number before it even had a title. Daisy Age was also one of the tracks that we had. Like, we were 4-tracking and overdubbing cassettes. I had this little Dr. Rhythm drum machine. Paz had this SK1 Casio, you know, had 4 sample pads on it where you put it up to the speaker. That's how we were sampling early on before we actually went into the studio. Paul heard all this stuff, and honestly, I was compelled to really get Paul to hear this stuff this particular day when he was venting about the stuff that wasn't gonna make the In Full Gear album. It was tracks like Can You Keep a Secret that was slotted for the In Full Gear album that didn't make that record. It was different things that made the 3 Feet High and Rising album that was for that In Full Gear album. And it was just in God's plan, man, you know, that particular day. Prior to even that session, running into Paul at different parties, seeing Paul at the mall, talking about, yo, I got some stuff I want you to check out, you know? And I knew I always had his attention, but aside of everybody he even grew up with, because these dudes in the neighborhood, everybody was making demos, everybody was DJing, everybody was a part of the culture at this time. I was new around the way. So I don't quite know how I had his attention. Maybe it was a certain flair I had not being from there. But when I had his attention, man, especially that moment he was venting, I was like, I gotta seize this moment right now. And he played some stuff that was so in the lane of what we was working on. And Paz and Dave, nobody knew they rap. That was another thing. No one knew they rap. That was like the biggest secret I had for like maybe 2 years. Me and another dude that used to be a part of the group. Nobody knew they rap. It wasn't until people found out we was working with Paul that they found out they rap.